The key issue that we've tried to tackle in the meantime has to do with one of your principal inputs in the printing process, namely newsprint. Of course, you have to deal with ink, you have to also deal with plates. Then we'll come again to the outsourcing of jobs, and that's where we want the other guests to come in before we come to Bayo, who is with us here in the Abuja studios. Earlier we introduced Wahab Lawal. He's the president and chairman of the council of the Chartered Institute of Professional Printers in Nigeria. Mr. Wahab Lawal, speaking to us from our Lagos Network Center. You listened to the issues as identified by the two guests who spoke earlier. What do you think is happening to the printing industry with regard to the sourcing of crucial inputs for production? Paper, ink, plates.
Thank you very much. The whole problem started from lack of regulation. Any profession that has no regulatory procedure is not a profession. It's not even a business. And that was why the printers put us together and forwarded the bill to National Assembly 2003. And the bill was signed to an act 2007 by the late President Shehu Musa Yar'Adua. But the problem with the regulation is that the profession has been bastardized before the regulation came into force. And problem of bribery and corruption, they did not allow the regulation to work. One, they said no printer should operate without being a member of Chartered Institute of Professional Printers of Nigeria. The same government that signed the act gave printing jobs to printers that are not licensed by the institutes. So as a result, the few ones that licensed feel cheated. Those that are not licensed are being patronized by the government who signed the bill into an act. All this is because of the corruption that has, enveloped the whole country. But with the present administration, I think with the regulation, things will change better. Recently, we visited the Wokwin paper mill. You will be sorry for this country, what we are losing. The place was established by Muritala Obasanjo administration in 1976. They planted pulp from Benin Express Road down to Iwokwin Stream. Go there now and see the position of things there. I will only advise the governments that they should please comply with the Act of Parliament that established Chartered Institute of Professional Printers of Nigeria and create an enabling environment for printer to manage the paper mills. There's no way printing will not, the printers will not continue to face problems in the process of doing their job because 99% of what they are using is imported. So there's no way they will not be facing problems. So I will advise the federal government.
Regulation. Let's look at capacity. Earlier on, Elijah Ali talked about quality as well. Now, comparison is usually made between Nigeria and Malaysia in terms of capacity, and of course other countries like India and China. And that's because of the fact that these are two major countries that have been identified as emerging economies. Now we understand that whereas Malaysia has over 20 paper mills, the 3 or 4 that we have are not even functioning. What is the capacity of Nigerian printing industry as of today?
Well, the quality of printing in Nigeria, the problem is because of the raw materials. We have the same machines they have in Malaysia. We have it in Nigeria, yeah? We did not manufacture any printing machine here in Nigeria. It is one they are using all over the world that we bought here in Nigeria. So the issue of quality, I can tell you that Nigerian prints quality, Nigerian printers, they produce quality job. The problem is the materials. And the paper dealers too, they created problem for the printers. They will bring undergrammage paper to the country. They may label it 100 grams and it may be 70, 80 grams. But if we are producing our paper here and our inks and some other consumable material for printing, I'm sure we are using the same machine. The quality of printing in Nigeria will be the same like Malaysia and other countries. We printed share books here in Nigeria. We printed other confidential documents here in Nigeria, and it's as quality as that of other countries.
Your response. Well, let's get this clear. We're dealing essentially with commercial printing. We know that there's also the higher level of it, which is security printing. We don't have the guests to deal with that issue here. In fact, that's even a more elaborate subject matter that we may take on sometime in the future. But we're here dealing now essentially with commercial printing, of course, which also involves the newspaper houses that undertake commercial printing, and then Yaliam Press, who's spoken to that. But let's go over to our Ibadan Network Center, where Mrs. Victoria Shogunle was earlier introduced. She's the publishing secretary for Spectrum Publishing Company. Now, Mrs. Shogunle, let's take a look at this. I mean, you are in academic publishing, and you also publish, works, for other persons. The number of state governments, if not virtually all of them, are declaring that they are providing books, textbooks, exercise books for pupils in primary schools as well as secondary schools. How much of this is coming to the local printing industry? In other words, if you get these jobs, where do you also get your raw materials from?
Thank you. We try as much as possible as publishers to patronize the local printers. But the challenge, like you have been discussing, it's always been availability of raw materials to be used by the printers. And so many times we are unable to get our deliveries on time, and we are compelled most of the time to patronize foreign printers in order to be able to get our delivery done on time. And I think the problem actually is that government's not realized the importance of the printing industry to boosting education standard. As everyone's been complaining, the standard of education is very low, and we are thinking of doing something very importantly to boost it. The government must understand that it is very important that they start to look at the printing industry, which is a very big help to achieving our objective in boosting the standard of education. And so if the printing industry locally is not functioning well, publishers are left with no other choice but to patronize foreign printers. So when we get the government orders, or when we have our own books to print as publishers to sell to the public, we also looking at time maximization, profit maximization, and if our books don't get ready for sale on time, then we are not able to maximize profit. And so most of the time we are compelled to go out of the country, though we know that the local printers can as well, they can do very well, or as well as the foreign printers. But there are these challenges of non-availability of raw materials. There are the challenges, like the other time you were talking about the capacity of the printing industry in Nigeria. There's this challenge that the capacity is very, very low. And so we have so much, the demand is so high, we have high demand to meet, and where the capacity is low, we are unable to meet this demand. And so we are compelled, really, to go out of the country to patronize foreign printers in order to be able to meet the huge demand that we have.
Right, Mr. Shogunle, let's still remain with you, because in the past we're made to know that publishers, of course, obtain some of these educational books, you know, here in Nigeria. As much as over 150 or so thousand copies were printed a day or